Unit 9, Life of Sheridan and Oliver Goldsmith. Richard Brinsley Sheridan was born in the year 1751 in Dublin. His grandfather Sheridan had a classical learning and was noted for his wit and humor. Sheridan's father, Thomas Sheridan, was an actor, a teacher of elocution, and author of Pronouncing Dictionary. His mother was a playwright and novelist. She has written two plays, The Dupe and the Discovery, and the novel entitled Arrogance. Sheridan had a private tuition under the Samwell while in Dublin. In 1762, his parents settled in England and Sheridan had his education at Harrow. He reads English poetry and then orations of Cicero and Demosthenes. At Harrow, in collaboration with his fellow students, Harland, Sheridan wrote a play called Jupiter. It was a farce in three acts, but his play was not staged. He was married in 1773 when he was only 22 years. He began to write for his livelihood. In 1775, he produced The Rival, which was the greatest success. It was followed by Denuna in the same year. His father in law provided his help in the musical part, and it has continued to be the favor of opera. The School for Scandal was a comedy. His last play is The Critic. His mismanagement of his Dairyland theatre drew him in the financial constraint. The masterpiece is The Rival, the first comedy in 1775, and as I said, The School for Scandal is also published in 1777. He joined politics and became a parliamentarian. He worked with Edmund Burke. Both Sheridan and Burke lead the oppositions in impeachment of Warren Hastings. Difference of opinion arose between them on the issues of French Revolution. Sheridan was in a support for French revolutions, whereas Burke was against such revolutions. In 1809, Derry Land Theatre caught fire and was burned down, and it was last stroke of the misfortune in his life. He died on 7th July 1816. The important works: Rival, The School for Scandal, Saint Patrick Day, Duenna, A Portrait, Had I a Heart for Falsehood, Framed, Here's to the Maiden of Bashful 15, If a Daughter Who Ha. The life and the work of Oliver Goldsmith. Oliver Goldsmith was born on November 10th, 1728, in Ireland. His father, Reverend Charles Goldsmith, was a minister of Church of England, whom Oliver Goldsmith immortalized as a village preacher in the poem The Deserted Village. The characters of Dr. Primrose in the novel The Vicar of Wakefield represent Goldsmith's father. So, the life, his pastoral poem, The Deserted Village, which was published in 1770, written in the memory of his brother, as well as in his play, The Good Natured Man, published on 1768. She Stoops to Conquer in 1771, is first performed in 1773. He also wrote a history of earth and animated nature, and he is also thought to have written the classic children's tale, History of Little Goody Two Shoes, giving the world that familiar faces. Phrase. Life of Goldsmith birth date and year are not known with certainty. According to the Library of Congress Authority file, he told biographer that he was born on 29th November 1731. Even as a child, Oliver Goldsmith was known for his exuberant talent, which promised him to be a genius in the future. With the financial support from his uncle, Reverend Thomas Contrain, he studied in a school at Edworth Town, then joined Trinity College Dublin as a Caesar, that is, a student supporting him by doing manual work. Though he obtained an academic distinctions in an exhibitions on the foundation of Hermas Smith, he at the time indulged himself in some frolicsome act. As a result, he was driven to a wandering life. However, he got his BA degree in 1749. He studied medicine at Edinburgh, where he was arrested once for debt. On another occasion, he was sentenced to 7 days' imprisonment for having been found in a company of Scott seamen. He had a temptation for gambling, which deprived him of every shilling that he had. He was having only one shirt to wear. After completing this study in medicine, he began to travel. He visited many countries and did odd jobs to meet both end meets. He toured such a countries such as America, Netherlands, France, Germany. Since he could get any satisfactory job in any of these countries, he returned to England after 2 years. In English, he began his career as a writer by starting a periodical entitled The Bee in 1759. All his essays published in such a periodical were collected in one volume. The Citizen of the World is a collection of letters written by him in a guise of Chinese philosopher. Beside this, Goldsmith has written the history of England, as I said in the early PPT, in series of letters, the Annals of Britain, the poem Roman history, history of England, Good-natured man, and She Stoops to Conquer, or his play. He has tried his hand at the poetry also, The Traveller and Deserted Village, or his most famous poem, The Vicar of Wakefield, is also only one novel written by him. History of Earth and Animated Nature is his last publication in eighth volume. He wrote for living, and his constant sedentary habits of writing affects him, and fits of strangery. He died on 4th April 1774. And almost Goldsmith was also described by the contemporary prone to envy, conjugal but impetuous and disorganized personality who once planned to emigrate to the America but failed because he missed his ship. His premature death in 1774 may have been partly due to his own misdiagnosis of his kidney infection. Goldsmith was buried in the Temple Church. Thank you.